Is it live? How come I see myself very like weird color? Okay, I get in Erev Shabbos, Parshas Noach. I hope this is live. Check if you can see it actually, please.
I am just looking at the road.
Could you see it? I'm looking at the road. I just want to wait for 1 second to
make sure that it works.
Okay. So the Evach is Parshas Noach, and this week came in a ganze Chodesh from all kinds of bombas and stuff. There's a Shuna Yom Kippur and I'm glad we have a wichtige Kiddes, and it's very schwer around to kriegen in the other parshas. They're very long and they have a lot of they talk a lot about things, and also in a way that's quite far from our reality at least, and maybe from the reality in general. And snap a bisschen Parish, and ich kann nicht looking at Parish von alles, but ich kann looking at Purak Dummes, und was ich will ist, with something that ich will is, how I want to say the story today, what's the picture that I see, and a bisschen geben the Hemmschicht, and wie man halt, wo man kann nicht nehmen, sich nach einem Bereich ist, im Bereich ist es gewesen, mit der Steuer, mit alle Sachen. So, my basic concept is as well. All these parshas, the main parshas, the ganz type of parshas, and by me, including parshas Noach for sure, are not really existing yet in the human sphere. In other words, all these parshas are parshas of creation, and we dacht them as the great parshas Bereich, so ganz viele massive parshas, but it's not ganz that. Aber massive Bereich is was the most good is massive Bereich, and the massive Bereich the Shnaim, is because massive Bereich is the way that all the things that are static now were not once static. All the things that exist now as Burukviyim, as we do the Vel, the Wasser, the Eretz, the Shemayim, Bereich the Limit Shemayim and Turet. And at one point it wasn't Shemayim and Turet, the pushes the touch from the ganze Parshas Bereich is that everything was mixed up, everything was and slowly the Eibstig macht Zeit. It's slowly geboren die alle Sachen, for yet coming kind of the air, the way Kurutz and it's very and it's very now we can go on the mime, and it's like it exists as a static thing, like as a thing that exists in vac. The story of Bereich is how that actually came to be, and how all these things that exist, they like taken for granted, but what does that take for granted? What do they exist? They exist in a very strong way, in a very basic way. Everything stands on them, and really that's like the Tzion. That's why when the Gemara says the Welt can't they don't say it's going to become nothing, it says it becomes Toivavoi. When the Toivavoi means that everything that you rely on, everything that exists in a very set up way, can go back to chaos. The Or can become back to Mish with the Choshech and the Shemayim and Uret and all those things. So the word is the researchers, they call it theological tales, something like that. It's trying to explain how things that we know, how they came to be, and this gives a certain omic in seeing those things also. It's like a different level, deeper level of seeing them when you can know how they came to be. And Parshas Bereich discusses more or less the very basic thing of how the physical universe comes to be and how man comes to be in that. And a lot of if you read Parshas Bereich until the end with the whole story till the Marishan, and why we're reading, it's basically coming to answer all the questions. Why is the world the way it is? Why do we wear clothing? Why do we eat food? Why do we have to all these things that the really way they're supposed to be read as Massive Bereich is not as just telling the story as is. What it's doing is doing this kind of revolution of taking the things that we know as and giving an explanation or the story of how they come to be. How does it come to be, all these things? Now, obviously a lot is left unfinished, because that's the basic story of, that's why the Torah didn't finish in Parshas Bereich or in Parshas Noach or in Leviticus or ever, because what's called not just the Parshas Bereich, but what's called that since all things came to be, So now they're never finished. They're not. They always still need to be coming to be, forever and ever. And therefore there's a lot of dialectic and a lot of, sometimes we stand on this side of the story, sometimes stand on that side of the story, and we have to continue and see basically. But anyways, basically the was is that when we read Parshas Noach, we try to read it as a post, as a story in the way things are. Like even if you read the story of Matan Torah, of the story of Dovis, how does Judaism come to be, or how does Torah come to be? There is also two levels of that. There's how things are now. Like we have this concept, okay, God is, if you're good, God's going to punish you. If you're bad, God is not going to punish you. But that's all after the world was created, after Maaseh Bereshis, or after Parshas Noach, actually. In Parshas Noach, we were actually like as if testing out this whole concept. When it says, if you read, that's the Oinvik Abshat, when it says in this end of Parshas Bereshis, I have to gesagt, okay, this world that the Mensch gemacht is, it didn't work out, I'm going to destroy the whole thing. It's not the same din like when it says in Parshas Vayayiru and Sodom that the Anshe Damruim v'chatuim. It's similar, but it's very different. And it's not the same when Yirmiyah Novi says that you sin, and therefore I'm going to destroy you. It's not the Pshat B'chlal. But that's already after the world exists. So there's Char V'oinish, du ganz Taluches, there's Kludem this night. But Parshas Noach is actually talking about how that rule came to be. In other words, how Kaviyachol God created the world, and then he realized, well, it's not going to work because the people are not listening to me, or they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and therefore let's destroy them. And then he decided in the end of Parshas Noach not to destroy them. And out of all of these Havmanas and Maskunas and Nimlach Matzadikim and what they call the Mismachrivam, out of all these dialectic, it came to be these things that we know today as God's rules for running the world or not running the world. But in the original sense, it's not Pshat. The Oynish of the Bnei Noach, people there's not the Pshat that it's like the Schar Oynish that we have today. This is the story of how Schar Oynish was invented, how Schar Oynish, and how there's a kash on it and there's a teretz. So jetzt, was ich will sagen, so jetzt habe ich mal around the guy Smaz on a Mashif and this is basically like this. And if we wanna say it in guide sagen the Akdome noch dem Hashem verstehen, also wie in Lennon du Shune im Kippe Sekes and Shmina Teres. And that's what he says, but if you realize the way I'm going to explain it, it's very makbil to Bereshis, Noach, Lechachol, and Vayayiru could be Shmina Teres. Who was actually being a Shminif and Lemile, whatever. And the idea is that Bereshis is I spoke about this the world comes to be, and these people come to be on the world, and then there's a lot of stories in that. And Yaakov, Beshushi, and Nishti Beshushi. And now what happened in Noach is Vayikra, the Pusik stars, Vayikra Chalodam, Dudevelt Neatus. There start to be a lot of people, and we start to see society, and we start to see how society and the earth itself and the creation, the Welt, the universe, and they have some kind of relationship with each other, and as if the people, they exist in a world, and the people are not behaving. I'm gonna have to destroy the whole world, and we have to emchazut them. And this is going back to what I started with. The pshat of the Mapel is actually destroying what he did in the first day, in the first 2 days of Maaseh Bereshis. I was tiled the water. He made the Yikuvi Amayim Metach Tashmal Mukimech V'Sroya Bushel, and Pashas the Mabel is not just like we found a way to drown you. It's the actual pshat of the Mabel is breaking that barrier. It's going back to Riach Mecheves Latnei Amayim, which is there shouldn't be this Yikuvi Amayim, this differentiation that he made in the second day. In the Tach Tashmal Mukimech, then there shouldn't be the whole difference. The same thing. There shouldn't be the difference between the Mayim Yonim and Tachtonim Kili, the Arivas Hashemayim Neftuchi. It actually means that this whatever he did to separate, that the water shouldn't destroy everything, that was destroyed in the Mabel, and that was because the Udam Asher Berusi was Nisnachem. At the end, if we made a mistake, this whole Udam. And this is Kili the Kasha everyone tries to talk about in Parshas Noach. What's in the Bahaimas Shildig, as mentioned within the Chazal, there is giving us stories how the Bahaimas was in the. But it's not the Pshat. The Pshat is that people exist only within a universe. And actually, the whole story of Noach, if you read it as as I'm explaining, that this is like how it came to be, that there's this whole side there, and how the cycle of the world came to be. But what happened was that it was an experiment. So God said, okay, so maybe we can destroy the world actually, and we could leave. We could leave just the humans, just the people. Really, I just want the people, and I don't really want the people. Also, the Gabe the tzaddik, the Gabe the noach is tzaddik. Meaning, say, the Gabe the one person that's smart enough and knows that's flying. Everything else is like a world. Like, I don't know the correct way of saying it. A person exists in the world. He doesn't exist outside the world. That's what it means before the world is created. And that's clearly the toiv avoy that I'm discussing, where there's not the differentiation. There's not like people and the world that they live in. And what the Mabel, and you have to understand that's why the Shtait says it's Noach's fault that the Mabel happened. Because in other words, the Mabel wasn't just like, okay, whoever sinned gonna be destroyed, and whoever didn't, that wasn't the pshat. It says V'noach mutzachayin. Ezra, please be quiet. That's not nice. It says V'noach mutzachayin is as part of the reason the Mabel started to happen. And V'noach mutzachayin means that chayin is something that exists before the world. It's not bedin. It's chayin. And V'noach mutzachayin means that he was this thing that God said we should try to do it. Let's try to do it the other way around. First, in Parshas Bereshis, he made a world, and then he put people in it, and then he told the person, he told him, listen, you have to take care of the world. So we try to do the whole thing the other way around. Make the person first, destroy the world, and destroy all the people, which the guy with this person are basically destroying the world. It's not the pshat that the Rishon that died in the Mabel, that didn't die because they were bad people, and bad people have to die. They died because the world was destroyed. And Noach was saved, not because the world, part of the world that was good was saved, and we don't need a Mabel. There's easier ways to kill everyone and leave the good guys standing. What happened was actually the world was destroyed. And Noach survived not being in the world, and there's this whole drusha that this shuna of the Mabel of Nishital, and then it's like Noach's idea was Levi Yom Kippur, and then it was Yom Kippur. The Welt arbeit nicht, was windig. Man geht gehen in the Mabel, in Oilam, man geht gehen in the Taiva, man geht gehen in the Taiva, in the Eloah, like Yom Kippur. We're going to just think of Ein Sof, and that Ein Sof is a Mabel. Ein Sof is Ein Sof of Mabel. We're going to forget about the whole symptom. We're going to just the whole symptom, which means that it creates mukim, it creates a space, creates a world, as opposed to people, as opposed to the people, which is like connected to the car, which is Ein Sof. And okay, and I'll put it back. And the idea of Noach was actually to prove that this is not a strategy that works. And all the yeshivas that say that they're Taivas Noach, actually the story of the Taivas Noach is that it's nicht kein Weg. It was again a Weg. Those vibes, they came in off the Mabel and made a whole bris. We're not going to do this anymore. The Chamti, basically, at Charute got of the Charute, Gyaitz Lavud Ram and Irav, this whole thing was a mistake. We shouldn't have destroyed the whole world because of the person. Basically, the story of the Mabel is how the yeshiva, being a Taivas Noach, didn't work out because the Katan Shazai. And what he said actually afterwards, it should be something in between, or something that has both sides, which is that Lo Yosef the Kalis Dima Vira Udam, which means that we're gonna actually finalize the distinction between the Mayim and the Yenim. We're gonna actually make the human not totally dependent on the Adumo, the world existing, not totally dependent on the man existing, and vice versa. And when the man gets on, I'm gonna feel like something it's gonna have like a sikha to go there. Not a taiva that's closed, like a sikha, more like a vrimvini. A sikha that was not offen, like a vrimvini itself that was open from four sides. That's that level. And the same in Paket, when the world will be, it's a further of the man, so we'll have Yom Kippur. And that's actually the Pshat that says, and of course the Pshat means the seasons, but they got decided with the Shiva and the Zimmer and Yom Kippur Timen, and the Zimmer Zindikman and Yom Kippur Timen Shiva. That's the sign that happened after the Mabel, and we figured out that we don't have to stock everything onto one ummah. Nicht alles darf stein auf Noach, ein Tzadik. I think we looked at I call them state of ein Tzadik, Noach is Tzadik was the only one. There was the one Tzadik, and I was like, I'm in a stein. It's like, we looked at an andere Platz, the Gere, die came in the hill, and he looked at the land, the ganze Regel Achas. Und es ist immer sehr wichtig, also es ist immer so, der Teure steht Regel 8, die ganze Welt steht Regel 8, mit 8 ist das schon mal. But you can't really get anywhere with that, and that's why after the same Vater Stunde after Nacht is lächerlich war Nacht, was aber bin ich also wie an einem Winter habe ich gesagt, dass das es wäre so gemein. Es Regel 8 ist kann man sagen verstehen, der der hat, der wird nach. Weil so nach there's only one there's only one you saw that you have to know. But in order for the world to have lächerlich wurde, it's again a guy and can ausführen Warte, you have to have a little gemein. Da muss dafür sich nach 2 Piece. Da muss nicht genickt, sondern nur ein Piece. And the 2 Piece basically is Udam in Eulam. Kann ich nur haben der Mensch, der Zadig, was hat dann das, dann Lamal Mena Eulam, Neue Kippen, kann ich mir nur der Eulam versteht sich. Aber es sind 2 Piece. Der Mensch ein bisschen hängt auf der Mokke, ein bisschen hängt auf der Zentrum, ein bisschen hängt auf der Kaf, ein bisschen hängt auf der Chalala Puni, ein bisschen hängt auf der Kaf. And so geht der Mensch, that's how he walks. The whole time, lechlecho. And that's how we continue to not be stuck in the place of Noach, but we continue with the season, doing what I know is boysy. And it is all of Nagit Shabbos, and getting guy up is lechlecho, and Bayayiru, which is Bayayiru.